Hello, I am Akin. In this video, I'll summarize what I learned in the server administration course. Before I go any further, I'd like to give you some background information. I have a basic understanding of how to configure administrative tasks in Windows 10 and Ubuntu Linux. To begin, our professor gave us a total of 9 tasks to complete in this course. Task 1. Setting up a lab environment. We learned how to install VirtualBox, build a virtual machine, and configure that VirtualBox to meet the basic requirements. Task 2. Install Windows Server 2016. This task was fairly straightforward. We simply needed to go to the Microsoft website, enter our credentials, and download the Windows Server 2016, after which we connected our previously created virtual machine and installed Windows Server 2016. Task 3. Configure Windows Server 2016. We configured the VirtualBox guest editions, modified the server name, assigned the server a static IP address, and added the DHCP server rule. Task 4. Install Windows 10. We went to the Microsoft website, downloaded Windows 10, and installed the operating system in the VirtualBox. Task 5. Joining Windows 10 computer to the domain. We started configuring Windows Server settings in this task, specifically how to enter a Windows 10 domain and build user accounts in Windows Server 2016. The first step is to create the domain css.uic.edu.ph, followed by the creation of 2 users. And of course, we ran into problems. We couldn't ping the Windows Server css.uic.edu.ph domain from Windows 10, so we couldn't join them. We resolved the problem by going to the VirtualBox settings and changing the 2 networks to bridged adapter choice in the network configuration. Task 6. Install RSAT, set up the organizational unit, and make a user account, time restriction lag on. The task was not simple at first because installing RSAT in Windows 10 requires logging in as one of the 2 users we developed in Task 5. After that, everything went smoothly, and we created an organizational unit and an account with time-based login restriction. Task 7. DHCP scope and DHCP reservation. This task taught us how to create a DHCP scope and name it UIC LAN, as well as how to choose the starting and ending points of an IP address that should be allowed on a DHCP scope. We also learned how to create a DHCP reservation, which allows the server administrator to create a reserved static IP address for traffic filtering or traffic rules, such as disabling internet access to that reserved IP address. Task 8. Create DNS host A record, DNS alias record, group policy management console, create and link a GPO, rename, unlink, and delete a GPO. We learned that a DNS host A record is created dynamically. Also, we learned how to set up manually a host A record. We also learned how to create a DNS alias record, which allows us to call an existing host record without having to remember its long name, as well as the benefit of using an alias record to avoid making modifications on every machine that refers to the host whose name has changed. We also learned how to build a group policy object, or GPO, which is a collection of settings that can be applied to a group of users or computers. So we've created an example of a GPO that prevents a user from accessing Internet Explorer, as well as a GPO that prevents a computer from accessing Internet Explorer regardless of who logs in. Lastly, we have learned how to rename, unlink, and delete a GPO, or group policy object. Task 9, backup and recovery. We were unable to complete this task because the virtual machine would stop responding each time we performed a backup. And after restarting the machine, it would do the same thing, preventing us from completing the task. Furthermore, I watched the tutorial, and it was a very thorough, straightforward tutorial in which the instructor demonstrated a full, custom, scheduled back setup. The instructor also demonstrates how to inspect the backup and recover or restore to a specific backup date. That's all. Thank you for watching my server administration summary. Goodbye.